about you, it's good to be a page. It's good to be a page. And I'm sure it's good to be a walker. And I'm sure it's good to be a deal. I'm sure it's good to be a skill. But it's nothing like being a child of God. I don't know about you, but it's nothing like being a child of the King. Acts chapter 27.
All right.
I was telling somebody we got about 5 minutes this morning. We got about 5 minutes to work with. So normally it's 12 to 17, but this morning I think we only got about 5. So while you're finding the book of Acts, I do ask that you would get a chance to read the entirety, chapter 27, when you get an opportunity to read the entire chapter 27. I know we got a lot on our minds right now. We know what's going on in all our lives. And so therefore we come to share a word of encouragement. For we all stand in need of encouragement. Let me know that it encourages myself. And so if you don't mind, I'm going to encourage myself this morning. If you have got there, just ask you to look at a couple verses as we around verse 14. We'll kind of look at through 24 this morning. It says, but long after a tumultuous headwind arose, called Euroclydon. Oftentimes, life can bring about some storms.
Yes, sir.
Life can bring some things in all of our lives when we least expect it. Storms don't ask if they can come in our lives. Storms sometimes, Mother Walker, just come. We don't always know if it's morning, noon, or night. Storms come unexpected. They don't make reservations. They don't ask if we can come on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. They show up unannounced. Just like company sometimes, you know when it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and we know that the family is coming over at noon, and it gives us time to pick up and clean up. It gives us time to prepare, to shower and shave. It gives us time to get the food ready and the dinner set and the table set, because it's been announced that folks are coming. Storms don't do that. Storms come uninvited. They knock at your door when you're not ready to receive. You know how it is when company comes over and they catch you in your rollers and pajamas and they catch you acting a fool and they just knocking at your door. Storms are no different. Storms have a way of changing some things. Thunderstorms can tear up some of the oldest trees, and lift up heavy cars, and tear off stable roofs. I don't know about you, but every now and then, storms come in our lives. And this morning, I just want to encourage somebody, thank you, Pastor Banks, to stay with the ship. I just came to tell you to stay with the ship. A lot of times, we put our faith in so many things. We put our faith in people, person, and places.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times when we go through the storms, we often find ourselves putting our faith in doctors and surgeons and those nurses and RNs. we trust them that they're going to do what they've been called to do. We even, maybe you ain't put your trust in a doctor lately, but if you had to go to the court of law and you had to put your trust in a lawyer, whether it was a coach or a mentor or a banker, you found yourself putting your confidence in man. When storms arise, because storms, you do certain things in storms. Growing up, they tell me, my mother would say when a storm would come, we go in the basement. I didn't understand that, because every now and then when storms hit, they tear down the whole house, and the basement didn't keep you safe. When they showed pictures, they would just take the whole house. Sometimes in storms, we do some crazy things. We were calling on folks who can't do anything about it. The fact is that we even put our trust and confidence in preachers, pastors and ministers and coaches and judges, everybody that we think that can help us in our situation. And I don't know about you, but when a storm rolls through at 14530 Charles Street, I don't got time to call Pastor Banks. I don't got time to call Deacon Haskell Walker, because the storm is coming through. And so the only one I got to put my faith and trust in, that is God. And so the fact that I don't know what's going on today in your life. Storms may be coming through your finances right now. Come on, somebody. Have you pulled up to the gas tank lately? To me, that might be a storm in somebody's life, because they don't have enough to fill their tank. They're going to the grocery store and the food prices are going up. Don't have enough to feed their family. I don't know about you, but that's a storm. Unexpected things are going up. Unannounced things are going up. And so, by the way, Luke takes this. He writes this particular book in Acts, and as we get to, and he's talking about the Apostle Paul is writing here. Just by way of quick background, we find Paul, once again, the Apostle Paul is on a journey, and his destination is Rome. Once again, if you know anything about Paul, we find himself, he's locked up in chains once again. The fact that this Apostle Paul, who was a persecutor of the church, and the fact that one day he got knocked off his beast, and he's seen the light, but yet this Apostle Paul, who decided to live his life for Christ, he decided that he was now from a persecutor to a preacher. And one would think that he wouldn't find himself in chains. He would find himself in luxury and top-notch facilities and some fancy things. He would have the amenities of somebody who was sharing the gospel, who was doing what's right and not doing what's wrong. But yet he finds himself once again in a difficult situation, not new to him, but yet he's in chains, and he's a Roman prisoner, and they're on their way to this destination. And if you look at back in around verse number 1 in the beginning of the chapter, it talks about how they're traveling, and the fact that a centurion was in charge of him, and back then a centurion was watching over the soldiers, and if a soldier was to escape or to leave out of his company and escape, the centurion's life would be taken away. And the fact that when you see in this particular text as they are, in around verse number 6, you get introduced to the centurion, and tells them where they're going. They're sailing toward Italy. And all of them, as they were on board, prisoners were on board. To find this particular text, and Paul is, what I like about Paul, no matter what his situation was, and no matter what he was going through, he's always stayed in communication with God. Paul knew some things that they did not know. The fact that he warns them, and as they get ready to sail, look at verse number 10, we find Paul is warning them, saying, men, I perceive that this voyage will end in disaster. And much less not only the cargo and the ship, but our lives. Here he's giving them a message, he's giving them a warning, letting them know what's about to happen. And I don't know about you, but growing up, when I used to hear the preacher talking, telling me that there's some disasters there, I didn't listen. Come on, somebody, I'm the only one. Don't make me point no fingers this morning. I remember even the pastor, the preacher, Pastor McMillan, would share some things with us, but we didn't want to listen. We were warned, but yet we didn't heed the message. It's no different today as a parent. A parent, we tell our children something. We warn them, if you do this or that, here's what's going to happen. Come on, somebody. Am I the only parent in the building that has warned their children and they did not do what you asked them to do? Come on, somebody. My mother warned me of some things, but I didn't listen. No different here in the text. He warned them that there's going to be a disaster. You might want to rethink this and rethink the way that you're going. Rethink this voyage. Rethink the direction that this ship is about to go in. That's all the Word of God does to us. us. It reminds us and gives us some direction on where we should be leading. It's simple. He tells them in verse 10, he warns them. But not only that, they just like me, and I'm sure they're just like a few of you. They didn't listen. So they set out and into the seas, and the fact we get around verse 14, the fact where we pick up the text this morning, and as they didn't listen, I'm sure they were hard-headed, and as they got out here, all of a sudden, verse 14, here comes a great wind. And as this wind hits them, it says, verse 15, so when the ship was caught and it could not head into the wind and would not let her drive. Ships were not like the ships we have today. Like the big old sovereign of the seas, these big old cruise ships and complete navigation and technology. But back then it wasn't like that. So here they are. They didn't listen to him. And now they're caught in this great wind. And the fact that the men, they're going crazy now. They don't know what to do because they're in the midst of a storm. Unannounced and unexpected. But this time, I like the fact that Paul gave them a heads up and told them what was going on. And so the fact is we see some things that we can learn this morning as this crew is out at sea that they ought to stay with the ship. If you get down to around verse number 21. And what I like about Paul, nothing seemed to faze Paul in his storms. Paul was pretty calm, cool, and collected. In fact, it said after verse 21, but after long absence from food, and Paul stood in the midst of the men and said, men, you should have listened to me and not sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss. Basically what he was saying was, I told you so. Come on, somebody ever told you? I told you so. The fact now he has a right to tell him because what he predicted, what he said, he got from God. He told it and passed it on. Now he's saying, I told you so. Now we're in the midst of this particular storm. Now we're in trouble right now, but I'm going to help you out anyway. Come on, somebody. I got parents. My parents are like, come on, somebody. You got somebody in your life, your mom, dad, a loved one that says, I told you so, but yet helped you anyway? And the fact is, what we see in this text around 21, he tells them, I told him so. Now here comes a message. Here comes some compassion. Here comes some advice from the great apostle Paul. Three things I see in the text. Why we ought to stay in the ship. Why we got to endure the storms that are coming in all of our lives. Why we got to just hang in. Number one, we got to understand from Paul, you got to have faith in God. You got to have faith. I'm telling you, when storms arise, you lose your mind and you're not thinking straight. We got to understand what faith really is. Faith is a substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I don't know about you this morning, but there's some things in my life, and I'm sure there's some things in your life that you don't know how the outcome is going to come out. Come on, somebody. You don't know what was going to happen, but yet it happened, and all of a sudden God did what he was supposed to do. In fact, he answered your prayer. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. And so he had faith in God. One thing that Paul, he knew who God was. And I guarantee that when you're going through some storms, if you just know who God is, that'll get you through alone. Come on, somebody. When you think about the God that we serve, who's holy, righteous, just, forgiving, loving, kind, merciful, and gracious. The fact that God is a loving God, he loves us despite who we are. Come on, somebody. When you think about who God is and how he saved your life, you ought to have faith in him. The fact that he created this universe, he created us in the image of his own son. I don't know about you, but I want to have faith in a God who controls the wind, waves, stars, moon, snow, controls everything. That's who I want to have my faith in the midst of the